Hello everyone, welcome to my review of Season 3, Episode 7 of The Flash, titled Killer Frost. Before I go any further, I just want to say that there will be spoilers in this review. This was the episode I have been waiting for all season. This is the episode kind of all about Killer Frost. And I was waiting to see what was going to happen with Caitlin's character, and in this episode, we really found out. But before I delve into Killer Frost aspect of the episode, I first want to discuss what happened at the very beginning, because as you remember from the previous episode, it ended on a rather big cliffhanger, so the beginning of this episode really had to wrap that up. And it kind of wrapped it up and kind of left a lot of things open. So Barry has this kind of battle with Savitar. It's not really a battle, he's kind of just getting his ass kicked. Caitlin and Cisco kind of have to show up and help him. That ends up leading to Caitlin having to use her powers, and as we know, the more she uses her powers, kind of the deeper she ends up being kind of overtaken with this Killer Frost persona. And that kind of puts her over the top, where she becomes a completely different person. And I thought that was very interesting. It's almost as if she has multiple personalities, which I thought was a very interesting way to approach this whole Killer Frost thing, because we can't have Caitlin, who's been really, really good this whole time, all of a sudden switch to really, really bad organically. You need to have something to really get her there. And it's very interesting if it is indeed a split personality type of situation. The only kind of negative aspect I have with this whole Killer Frost episode is the way she's kind of able to turn back into the Caitlin Snow we all know. It's almost as if you have to talk her down, talk her back into herself. And I'm wondering, at what points is that not going to work? At what points is she going to be too far gone to bring back? Also, is there a way to kind of shut down that part of her that is Killer Frost? Or is this going to be a permanent thing? These are all questions for later on, but it was really cool in this episode to see Caitlin have such a character change from what we know her to be. And I think Danielle Panabaker really did a fantastic job portraying Killer Frost once again. She did do it last year on Earth too, but that was different because that Killer Frost was already bad. That Killer Frost didn't have to make the transition from good to bad, at least we didn't see it. But in this episode, we had to see her go from good to bad and back to good again. And that's a very interesting kind of thing for an actor or actress to do. Having to play the different tones, the different characters. It is very difficult, and she did it very, very well. I also have to mention that this episode was directed by Kevin Smith. Kevin Smith, who many know, is a feature film director. He's kind of more of a cult fan favorite when it comes to feature films, but he is personally one of my favorite directors of all time. He is one of my personal film inspirations of all time, and it was really great to see him once again helm an episode, because he directed an episode last season, as well as directing an episode this season in Supergirl, and hopefully he will continue directing various episodes in the Berlanti universe. But Killer Frost wasn't the only aspect of the episode. As we remember from the end of the last episode, Wally was in this type of cocoon where he was apparently obtaining his speed powers. And in this episode, Joe decides in a not-so-smart way, and a not-so-smart decision, to cut him out of this cocoon. I'm not quite sure what this cocoon was made of, but apparently it was susceptible to our equipment. But what we got when it came out was a Wally who wasn't fully formed yet. The timing, I guess, of his body was off, so they needed to devise a way in order to kind of fix him. And they do so rather quickly and rather easily, and now we have Wally West with his speed powers, something I have been wanting to see for a while, pretty much since I heard that they were actually going to introduce the Wally West character. Now I guess we officially have Kid Flash on the show, at least for now. Who knows what's going to happen, because As we saw in this episode, alchemy is indeed back. One of the negative aspects I have for this episode, and really for this season currently, is in this episode we got the reveal that alchemy is Julian, who has been working at the GCPD. If that is in fact true, and this is not a bait and switch or anything of that nature, it was really, really predictable. It was predictable considering last season you had a seemingly a good guy character becoming a bad guy character. Or at least a good guy character pretending to be good who was really bad. And you're doing that once again seems really, really lazy to me. It seems really lazy when you could have perhaps done something a little bit more interesting. You could have introduced a completely new character, or alchemy could have been something completely independent of a character that we have seen in the show. Other than that, I thought this episode was very, very good. I was really glad to see Caitlin go full Killer Frost. I am even more interested now in that whole aspect of the show than I was before. Wally West as Kid Flash, glad to finally see that. The Savitar thing is going to be very, very interesting because he seems to be on another level when it comes to speed than any of the antagonists we've seen before. But am I the only one who's kind of sick of bad guys who are also speedsters? Can they do something else in the subsequent seasons? Because I'm really getting tired of it, and I know probably a lot of you at home are as well. But with all that being said, this has been my review of Season 3, Episode 7 of The Flash, titled Killer Frost. If you like this video, please check out my other episode reviews for the other comic book related television series.